Look who just broke the entire system without even raising their voice. Welcome back, you beautiful anomaly. You silent assassin. You walking contradiction they can't explain. Yeah, you. The one they've been watching, analyzing, dissecting like some kind of rare specimen under glass. The one they thought they had figured out, labeled, filed away in their neat little categories of the controllable and the predictable. But something happened, didn't it? Something shifted deep within the tectonic plates of your soul. Something cracked open. And now they're all standing there with their mouths half open, their confidence shattered, their egos hemorrhaging in real time, asking the same pathetic question over and over. What the hell just happened? Let me tell you exactly what happened. You stopped playing their game. That's what happened. You stopped apologizing for your intensity. You stopped shrinking yourself to fit their narrow definitions of acceptable. You stopped performing the version of you they needed to feel superior. You didn't announce it, didn't post about it, didn't send out a manifesto explaining your evolution. You just changed frequencies. And now they're scrambling, panicking, and recalculating everything they thought they knew about you. Because whatever you did, it worked. It worked so well that their entire perception of reality is glitching out like a corrupted hard drive. And the best part? You're not even trying anymore. You're just existing in your new form, and that alone is enough to send their fragile little egos into critical condition. They thought they had you mapped out, didn't they? They thought they knew your limits, your triggers, your patterns. They studied your reactions like scientists. They took notes on what made you flinch, what made you apologize, what made you bend. They built their entire sense of superiority on the belief that you were beneath them, that you needed them, that you'd always be one step behind. But then you did something unforgivable. You evolved without their permission. You leveled up without their validation. You became powerful without their approval. And now they're looking at you like you're some kind of alien entity, some force they can't categorize, some presence that doesn't compute in their limited understanding of how the world works. You see, they're not mad that you changed. They're mad that you changed without them. They're not upset that you grew. They're upset that you grew past them. They're not threatened by your success. They're threatened by the fact that your success doesn't include them, doesn't need them, doesn't even acknowledge them. Because what you did, whether you realize it or not, was remove yourself from their equation entirely. You stopped being a variable they could control and became a constant they can't touch. You stopped being a player in their game and became the game itself. And now every move they make, every word they speak, every pathetic attempt to regain control just exposes how powerless they really are. Look at them now, scrambling to figure out what changed. They're rewinding every conversation, rereading every message, analyzing every interaction like it's some kind of crime scene. They're asking their friends, "Did you notice anything different about them? When did they become like this? Who taught them that?" Because in their minds, someone must have taught you. Someone must have given you the blueprint. Someone must have handed you the cheat codes. Because the alternative, the truth they can't stomach, is that you figured it out yourself. That you evolved organically. That you became this powerful, this untouchable, this magnificently unreachable, without needing a single thing from them. And that realization is eating them alive from the inside out. They're talking about you right now. Oh yes, they are. Not to you, never to you, but about you. In their group chats, in their quiet moments, in their heads when they can't sleep. They're dissecting your silence like it's some kind of encrypted message. They're analyzing your distance like it's a strategy they need to counter. They're studying your indifference like it's a weapon they need to defuse. Because your silence, your beautiful, devastating silence, is louder than anything they could ever scream. Your absence is more present than their desperate attempts to stay relevant. Your lack of reaction is more powerful than any response you could have given. You stopped explaining yourself, and that alone broke their brains. You stopped defending your choices, your boundaries, your evolution, and they don't know how to process it. They're used to people justifying themselves, used to people seeking approval, used to people needing validation from the crowd. But you just stopped participating in their circus entirely. You didn't fight back, didn't argue, didn't try to prove anything. You just smiled that knowing smile, that infuriatingly calm smile, and walked away. And that smile, that silence, that complete lack of engagement, it's doing more damage to their egos than any argument ever could. Because you're not fighting them. You're not even thinking about them. And that is the most devastating truth they've ever had to face. They thought silence meant weakness. They thought distance meant defeat. They thought your lack of response meant they'd won. But oh, how wrong they were. Because your silence wasn't surrender, it was sovereignty. Your distance wasn't retreat, it was ascension. Your lack of response wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You realized something they'll never understand, that some people don't deserve your words, your energy, or your attention. You realize that some battles aren't worth fighting because you've already won by simply refusing to play. That the highest form of power isn't domination, it's detachment. And now they're choking on that truth, suffocating under the weight of your indifference. Watch them closely. Watch how they suddenly start posting more, trying harder, reaching out in ways they never did before. Watch how they bring up your name in conversations you're not even part of. Watch how they manufacture reasons to check on you, to see what you're doing, to gauge whether their absence has affected you at all. Because your silence has created a vacuum in their lives, and they're desperately trying to fill it with noise. They need to know you're thinking about them, missing them, affected by them. But you're not. And every day that passes without you reaching out, without you explaining, without you caring, is another day their ego bleeds out just a little bit more. The funniest part is that they'll never admit it. They'll never say out loud that you got to them, that you won, that they're obsessed with understanding what happened. Instead, they'll dress it up in concern. I'm just worried about them. They've changed. They're not themselves anymore. Translation: I'm terrified that they've outgrown me, and I have no way to bring them back down. They'll call you cold, call you different, call you distant. But what they really mean is, you've become someone I can't manipulate anymore, and I don't know how to handle it. Your evolution has exposed their stagnation. Your growth has revealed their smallness, and they can't forgive you for that. They're still trying to figure it out, you know? Still trying to trace back the exact moment you transformed. Was it something someone said? Was it a book you read? Was it some secret they're not privy to? They're combing through your past like archaeologists, looking for clues, searching for the catalyst. Because in their limited understanding, change must have a source. Transformation must have a teacher. Evolution must have a manual. But you didn't follow anyone's blueprint. You burned the maps they gave you and walked through fire until you found your own path. You didn't need a guru, didn't need a mentor, didn't need someone to hold your hand. You needed pain, and you had plenty of that. You needed pressure, and they provided it. You needed to be pushed to the edge, and they did the pushing. So really, they created you. They just don't realize it yet. Whatever you did, It wasn't one thing. It wasn't a single moment, a single decision, a single revelation. It was 1,000 small deaths. It was every time you swallowed your pride and survived. Every time you cried in silence and woke up stronger. Every time you wanted to scream but chose stillness instead. Every time you were betrayed and didn't become bitter. Every time you were abandoned and didn't become desperate. Every time you were misunderstood and didn't waste energy explaining. You died and resurrected so many times they lost count. And each time you came back different, sharper, clearer, more removed from their reality, until finally, you weren't coming back at all. You were ascending. The move they can't replicate is that you stopped needing them. Not in a dramatic way, not in a look at me moving on way, but in a genuine, cellular, complete way. You didn't replace them with someone better. You didn't fill the void with new people. You filled it with yourself, with your own company, your own standards, your own peace. You became so whole within yourself that their presence became optional. Their opinions became irrelevant. Their validation became meaningless. And that is the move they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to understand, because they can't fathom how someone could be genuinely okay without external approval. They can't comprehend how someone could thrive in solitude. They can't wrap their minds around the fact that you don't need anyone anymore, least of all them. They're asking each other, who taught them that? Where did they learn to be like this? And the answer is killing them. You taught yourself. You learned from every wound they inflicted. You studied every betrayal like a textbook. You absorbed every disappointment like fuel. You turned their cruelty into your curriculum, and their rejection into your research. They were the ones who pushed you into the darkness, and you're the one who learned to see in it. You're the one who found power there. You're the one who built a throne out of the ashes they thought would bury you. So yes, someone taught you. They did. They just didn't realize they were creating their own nightmare. And now they're stuck. Stuck watching you from a distance. Stuck analyzing your moves. Stuck trying to decode your energy. Stuck in a loop of curiosity and resentment they can't escape, because you've become the standard they can't reach, the mystery they can't solve, the level they'll never achieve. And every time they see you unbothered, thriving, glowing without them, it's another confirmation that whatever you did worked. Worked so well that their egos are now on life support. And you're the one holding the plug. And the most beautiful part? You're not even thinking about pulling it. You're not thinking about them at all. Let's talk about the real reason their egos are in critical condition. It's not just that you changed, it's how you changed. They were expecting the typical trajectory, the predictable arc. They thought if they hurt you, you'd break. If they ignored you, you'd chase. If they left you, you'd beg. If they replaced you, you'd compete. If they disrespected you, you'd defend yourself loudly, emotionally, desperately. That's what they know. That's what they're used to. That's the script they've seen play out 1,000 times with 1,000 other people. But you didn't follow the script. You didn't give them the satisfaction of a predictable reaction. Instead, you went quiet, went dark, went inward, and emerged as something they never saw coming. You didn't become bitter, you became selective. You didn't become angry, you became indifferent. You didn't become broken, you became unbreakable. You didn't become desperate for closure, you became comfortable in mystery. You didn't need them to apologize, didn't need them to understand, didn't need them to validate your experience. You just moved on. Not with noise and announcements, but with a silence so complete, it felt like a statement. And that silence, that evolution, that refusal to play their game. It shattered their entire perception of who they thought they were dealing with. They thought you were soft. You showed them steel. They thought you needed them. You showed them autonomy. They thought you'd crumble. You showed them resurrection. The evolution they didn't predict was you becoming someone who doesn't need revenge because you've outgrown the need for it. Someone who doesn't need to prove anything because your existence is proof enough. Someone who doesn't need closure because you've learned to write your own endings. They expected drama, chaos, emotional breakdowns, and public call-outs. Instead, they got silence, growth, discipline, and a version of you they can't recognize. And that unrecognizable version is more powerful than anything they could have prepared for. Because it means you're not operating in the same reality anymore. You're not playing by the same rules. You're not even in the same game. You've created your own dimension, and they're not invited. They're watching you now, and they can't figure it out. How are you so calm? How are you so unbothered? How are you thriving without them? How are you glowing, growing, and moving forward like they never existed? Because in their minds, they were supposed to matter. Their presence was supposed to be significant. Their absence was supposed to hurt. But you've shown them the most devastating truth, that people are replaceable, but peace is not. That relationships are temporary, but self-respect is permanent. That their role in your life was smaller than they thought, and your role in your own life is bigger than they could ever imagine. And that realization is absolutely demolishing their egos in real time. The funniest part is, they still think they have a chance. They still think if they just say the right thing, do the right gesture, or show up in the right way, you'll soften. You'll remember the good times, and you'll give them another opportunity. But what they don't understand is that you're not holding a grudge. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not keeping score. You've simply moved to a frequency they can't access anymore. You're operating on a level of consciousness that doesn't include them. And no amount of reaching out, no amount of nostalgia, no amount of fate concern is going to bridge that gap. Because the evolution you underwent wasn't about leaving them behind. It was about finding yourself ahead. And ahead is where you're staying. Here's what's really breaking them. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped justifying your boundaries, your choices, your distance. You stopped trying to make them understand why you had to walk away, why you had to change, why you couldn't keep giving pieces of yourself to people who treated you like you were disposable. You just stopped. And that silence, that refusal to explain, that withholding of closure, it's driving them absolutely insane, because people like them, they need explanations. They need you to spell it out so they can argue against it, manipulate around it, or gaslight through it. But you didn't give them that ammunition. You didn't give them anything. You just disappeared into your own evolution and left them with nothing but questions. They're asking themselves, what did I do? Why did they change? Why won't they talk to me anymore? And the most poetic part is that they already know the answers. Deep down, beneath all the denial and deflection, they know exactly what they did. They know how they treated you. They know the disrespect they showed, the boundaries they crossed, the trust they betrayed. They know, but they were counting on you being too kind, too forgiving, too desperate for connection to actually hold them accountable. They were counting on you explaining your pain so they could minimize it, dismiss it, or rewrite it. But you didn't explain. You just walked. And now they're stuck with their own conscience, their own memories, their own guilt, and no one to absolve them of it. The power you're wielding right now is the power of silence. The power of not needing to be understood by people who were never trying to understand you in the first place. The power of not wasting your breath on explanations that will fall on deaf ears. The power of knowing that some people will never get it. And that's okay, because you don't need them to. You've learned that closure is something you give yourself, not something you wait for others to provide. You've realized that understanding is a gift you reserve for people who've earned it, not a right you owe to everyone who asks. And that shift, that refusal to over-explain, over-justify, or overshare, it's made you untouchable in a way that's driving them crazy. They're used to people who explain, who defend, who break down their every thought and feeling in desperate attempts to be seen. But you've become a locked door, a closed book, a mystery they'll never solve, because you're not interested in being read by them anymore. You've taken your story back. You've reclaimed your narrative. You've decided that your inner world is sacred space, and not everyone gets access. And that decision, that boundary, that refusal to explain, it's not cruelty, it's self-preservation. It's dignity. It's the most powerful move you could have made. And they hate it because they can't manipulate what they can't understand. And they can't understand what you won't explain. So, let them wonder. Let them ask their questions into the void. Let them seek answers from everyone except the one person who could give them, which is you, and watch you not care enough to respond. Let them write their own stories about what happened. Let them fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. Let them rewrite history to make themselves feel better. Because while they're busy trying to understand your evolution, you're busy living it. While they're stuck analyzing the past, you're building the future. While they're obsessing over what they lost, you're celebrating what you found in yourself. And that is the ultimate flex. Not explaining, not defending, not caring. Imagine the sheer weight of their confusion as they realize that the old hooks no longer catch. They throw out the same baits, the subtle guilt trips, the feigned emergencies, the "I saw this and thought of you" messages, and they all just slide off your new surface. You have become frictionless. They used to be able to pull your strings and watch you dance, but you've cut the strings and burned the stage. There is a profound terror in realizing that someone you once owned or controlled has become entirely self-governed. It's like a jailer realizing the cell door has been open for years and the prisoner didn't escape. They simply transformed into the wind and blew right through the bars. You are the wind now. You are ungraspable. You are a frequency that their primitive receptors can no longer pick up. They are still tuned to the AM radio of drama and codependency, while you have transitioned into the cosmic background radiation of the universe. You are everywhere and nowhere to them. You are the silence in the room after they speak your name. You are the ghost in their machine. They look for you in the faces of others, in the patterns of their new relationships, in the echoes of their own hollow lives. But they will never find you again. Not the you they knew. That person is dead, and the new you doesn't recognize their face. This is the ultimate victory of the soul, to become so aligned with one's own truth that the lies of other. You have reached the state of wu-wei, without even trying. Non-action that accomplishes everything. By doing nothing, by saying nothing, by simply being your authentic, evolved self, you have dismantled their entire psychological infrastructure. Their walls have crumbled because you stopped leaning on them. Their pedestals have toppled because you stopped looking up at them. Their power has vanished because you stopped believing in it. You are the architect of your own liberation, and the ruins they are standing in are the remnants of the prison they built for you. Let them sift through the rubble. Let them try to piece together the shattered glass of their expectations. It won't matter. You are already miles away, breathing air they can't reach, seeing horizons they can't imagine. You are the anomaly that proved the system was a lie. You are the silent assassin of their ego. You are the beautiful, terrifying, magnificent proof that a human being can lose everything and find themselves, and in doing so, become more powerful than those who took it all. Stay in that silence. Stay in that power. Stay in that beautiful, untouchable evolution. You didn't just break the system, you outgrew it. And there is no going back to a world that no longer fits. You are the new world now. And now, after everything that has been stripped away, everything that burned, everything that collapsed under the weight of truth, you arrive at the quietest, most dangerous place of all. Peace that does not need permission. This is where the story really ends and begins at the same time. Because what you've stepped into cannot be undone. There is no dramatic return arc, no relapse into who you were, no accidental shrinking back into old skins. You crossed a line inside yourself that cannot be uncrossed. You saw too clearly. You learned too deeply. You integrated too much. The version of you that tolerated confusion, chaos, and conditional belonging has expired, and the system that fed on that version no longer has a host. That's why it feels so still now. That's why there's no rush, no urge to explain, no impulse to correct the narrative. You are not waiting for anything to happen, because it already did. The internal shift was the event. The detachment was the liberation. And what comes after that internal shift, after that liberation, is not emptiness, but a depth so vast it unnerves anyone who has never learned to sit with themselves. You begin to move through life differently now, not rushed, not reactive, not hungry for recognition, but grounded in a knowing that doesn't announce itself. Your nervous system no longer jumps at every sound from the past. Your heart no longer confuses intensity for intimacy, or chaos for connection. You are no longer trying to be seen because you finally see yourself. And that self-recognition has rewired everything. The world hasn't suddenly become kinder or fairer, but it has become quieter. And in that quiet, you can hear your own intuition again, steady and uncompromising. You choose what enters your space with the precision of someone who knows the cost of letting the wrong things in. You no longer mistake access for love or familiarity for safety. You are not closed. You are discerning. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not distant. You are deeply rooted within yourself. And this is the part no one warns you about. Peace like this can feel disorienting at first because it doesn't come with adrenaline or drama or emotional spikes to validate its existence. It doesn't beg to be felt. It simply is. It shows up in how you sleep at night, in how your shoulders finally relax, in how your decisions stop coming from fear and start coming from alignment. It shows up in the way you no longer rehearse conversations in your head, no longer replay old moments looking for different outcomes, no longer fantasize about being understood by people who never listened. You've made peace with the fact that some doors close without speeches, some endings happen without apologies, and some truths never get acknowledged out loud. And none of that takes anything away from you anymore. You carry your power differently now, quietly, almost invisibly. And that is precisely why it's unshakable. You don't need to prove your growth because your life reflects it. You don't need to announce your boundaries because your absence enforces them. You don't need to explain your peace because it wasn't built for public consumption. It was built to sustain you. And as you walk forward, not hardened but clarified, not guarded, but sovereign. You become living evidence of something most people never figure out. That the greatest revenge is not success, not validation, not being missed or regretted, but becoming so internally whole that nothing outside of you gets to decide your worth ever again. This is the aftermath they never prepared for. The version of you that doesn't orbit their gravity, doesn't react to their gravity, doesn't even register it anymore. You are moving on a different axis now, guided by truth instead of approval, by self-respect instead of attachment, by peace instead of performance. And once you've lived from this place, even briefly, there is no temptation strong enough to pull you back into the noise. You've tasted freedom at the level of identity, and that kind of freedom doesn't fade. It settles. It becomes home. So let this ending seal itself not with adrenaline, but with reverence. God, Source, Architect of transformation, witness the ones standing here now. Witness what they survived without becoming cruel. Witness what they lost without becoming empty. Witness how they were tested beyond fairness and still chose integrity over reaction, restraint over revenge, clarity over chaos. Strengthen what you rebuilt in them. Anchor their nervous system in safety so they no longer mistake intensity for intimacy or chaos for connection. Guard their peace with discernment sharper than any boundary they've ever spoken. Remove the last threads of self-doubt that whisper they were too much, too distant, too different for choosing themselves. Replace those whispers with certainty that they were exactly enough, exactly on time, exactly obedient to the truth you planted in them long before anyone tried to rewrite it. Let them never again betray themselves to maintain proximity to people who thrived on their self-abandonment. Let their intuition remain louder than nostalgia. Let their clarity stay stronger than loneliness. Let their silence remain sovereign. And when others misunderstand them, let it not trouble their spirit. When others project onto them, let it fall away without sticking. When old doors creak open out of habit, let them walk past without turning their head. Continue refining them until their presence alone sets boundaries without effort, until their energy speaks before their mouth ever needs to, until they recognize that being inaccessible to chaos is not arrogance, it is alignment. Bless the solitude that taught them who they are. Bless the losses that clarified what matters. Bless the stillness that replaced survival mode with self-trust. And let their life from here forward be guided not by reaction, not by fear, not by proving, but by a grounded knowing that they are already standing where they once begged to arrive. Amen. And now, if you felt this in your body instead of just your mind, if something inside you settled instead of ignited, if you recognized yourself without needing to be named, then don't rush away from this moment. Stay. This isn't content, it's confirmation. This isn't motivation, it's recognition. This space is not for everyone, and that's intentional. It's for those who walked through fire quietly, who outgrew people without announcing it, who learned that the most dangerous move is not revenge, but removal. Just mark your presence. Let it be a signal, not a story. You didn't break the system by fighting it. You broke it by becoming someone it could no longer access. And you're not going back.